Hi there, Kate here. Welcome to my channel. Thank you for clicking. This is just going to be a simple journal flip through. Now this journal is pretty thick already. It's thicker now since it's very full. It'll be a little less thick as I pull out these paper clips. But I flipped through it ahead of time so I could decide what to show you. Since it already is a pretty thick journal, I didn't want you to have to sit there while I flip through all these pages of just writing to get to the things that are interesting to me. So I went ahead and did that myself ahead of time. So the first thing I want to show you, let's move this over, is my RUisms page. I've got a little girl who is just the funniest kid. By the way, I started this journal in 2008. And she's adorable, and sometimes she just says the funniest things. You know that phrase, kids say the darndest things? Well, she really does. And one of the things that she hollered, she stood up on a kitchen stool and screamed, "Stand up tall and all you do!" And she jumped off the stool. And she says lots of little funny things like that, and when she does, I write them down in this journal, in the RUisms section of my journal. This is something I drew back in college. I copied it off a tutorial. I was obsessed with fairies at the time, and I wanted to write a fairy story. And I never really did get around to doing that. But I thought it was a cute picture, so I threw it in there. This is my ticket from when my parents sent my brother and sister and me to the historic Tennessee Theater to see The Temptations. That was one of the very best shows that we ever saw. And there were some really cool people there in the row in front of us. And they were much older than we were. You know, they saw The Temptations when they were kids, I guess. But they were just the coolest people, and they were dancing in the aisle to, you know, all the classics, and they were just the funnest people to get to see that show with. And so it was you know, we made some older friends, and that was just nice. And there's another ticket. My sister and I got to go back to the Tennessee Theater to see Chicago live, which was awesome. I think the very best person in that whole show was the man who played Amos, and I can't remember his name, and I have since misplaced the program, which makes me very sad. But it was so much fun, and we got to sit in the balcony, and that was just great. This here, my ticket stub to when we got to go see Lewis Black. I live in Tennessee, in case you haven't noticed, back to the Tennessee Theater. And Lewis Black is one of my all-time favorite comedians. For the longest time, I didn't know his name. I just referred to him as the angry Jewish guy who pointed a lot. But he's really funny, and it was really fun to get to go see him live. And of course, being a Southerner, I do quite enjoy Ron White, and he came to the Tennessee Theater, so we got to go see him as well. And that was hilarious. And this, my mother got this for me for my birthday in 2009. And I'm afraid it's gotten a little damaged, but if you can see that, I got to go to the Knoxville Civic Auditorium to see Celtic Woman live. And if you ever get the opportunity to see Celtic Woman, absolutely do it. That is the best live show I have ever seen in my life. And it was really, really amazing. It was I can't remember the name of the album now. I can't believe that. But the entire album they were promoting at the time was kind of a tribute to the United States. They said that the United States was one of the very first countries outside of Ireland to embrace them, and they really wanted to do an album sort of in tribute to that. And so that's the album they were promoting at the time, and their concerts are absolutely incredible. If you've ever seen their DVD, it doesn't do justice to the live show And the DVD is already amazing, but the live show was just absolutely incredible. And I highly recommend going if you ever get the chance. Alright, this is a little... As I said, I started this journal back in 2008. Let me see if I can get that to focus. There it goes. This is my very first entry in over 5 years. Back in 2011, there was just some crazy, wild, depressing stuff going on in my life, and I guess I just got a little depressed, and I simply stopped journaling for a long time, and absolutely kicked myself after that, because that was just stupid. Alrighty. Back when a couple years ago, when I got back into journaling for the first time in 5 years, I was kind of out of practice. So naturally, I went to YouTube and I looked for inspiration. And I found this guy named Clark Kegley, who I will link below if I can figure out how to do that. This is my first video. I don't quite know what I'm doing. And I think his channel was called Clark Danger. I think that's why I wrote that down. And he just had some really interesting suggestions for how to section off your journal. I did try a lot of these. I think I ended up abandoning a lot of them, but I thought they were still really good suggestions, so I put them in here. Oh, my ticket stub for when my sister and I went to see Fantastic Beasts and where to find them. Obviously, I was expecting that movie to be really, really good. But, you know, it wasn't Harry Potter, so I was a little concerned, but it was much better than I hoped it would be. Oh, and this, when you go so long without journaling or without writing all the time, your penmanship does tend to suffer, especially when the only time you ever get the chance to write anything down is at work, and you always have to write it very fast on the fly, and as you can tell, my penmanship was horrific, and I was just trying to get back into practice. This is hilarious. I was visiting my grandmother. I don't know if you can see this. I was visiting my grandmother. My mother was there, my aunt was there, my uncles were there. And they all of a sudden broke out into ubby-dubby with each other. And it was hilarious to watch these 50-year-old people just all of a sudden break out into something that they did as they were children and that they haven't done since they were children, and remember exactly how to do it, and they understood each other, and it was the funniest thing. So naturally, I went straight to YouTube to try to learn how to do it, and I recommend it. It's silly and it's fun, and it was so much more fun to watch my parents do it, or to watch my mother do it and my uncles. It was just so cute. That's my bracelet from my first visit to Max Air Trampoline Park. I don't know if you have one. It's kind of like Jump Jam, if you've ever been to Jump Jam, only smaller and more geared toward kids than more geared towards small kids. But that was just the absolute most fun I've ever had. My body was so sore the next day, but no regrets. That was so much fun. Oh, I had a little trouble with my fountain pen here. I think I actually wound up giving up on that one and just switching to another one. I absolutely love this page. I copied this from another YouTuber. I can't pronounce her last name. I just call her Vicky P, but I'll link her below if I can figure out how to do that. I just thought that was the coolest thing. I stumbled across that video on YouTube, and I thought it was so cool, and I wanted to try it myself. So obviously mine is nowhere near as good as hers, and if you watch her video, I'm sure you'll love it. And if you're not already subscribed to her, I'm sure you will subscribe. My little girl saw that I was putting things in my journal, and so she made me a snowflake. And she says that my dad helped her make it. But she brought it to me and said, "Put this in your journal." So I did. My kids are always making me little presents. I'm not going to let you read that, but it's a journal. It's a poem that I wrote for one of my other kids for her birthday, and I was kind of proud of it, so I put it in my journal. This is my birthday card that I got from my sister when I turned the big 3-0. She and my brother always joked that I would be the first one to turn to drinking. So we're always joking about alcohol now. And this, I was just practicing with a pack of gel pens I had bought. That's another thing that I kept seeing when I started journaling again was, types of pens, best pens to use. And people were always suggesting gel pens, and these really weren't very good. Some of them were okay, but it was a pack of about 30. And you just don't get a whole lot of good ones in a pack. So if you're going to do gel pens, I recommend Sargent Art, because those never seem to fail me. But other packs I just wouldn't go for. Most gel pens just aren't that great in my experience. I made this out of pattern paper, this little envelope. I thought that it was just really pretty paper, and I thought that these little lovebirds here were appropriate for my ticket stub for when we went to see Beauty and the Beast last year. If it'll focus, you can see it. Oh, it doesn't want to focus. There we go. Yeah. So I really like that little envelope, and that I made. I was kind of tickled with it. So I made that and put that stub in there. As I said, my kids really love to make me things, and this is my older one. She was practicing her, I'm not even going to show you this. She was practicing her cursive, and so she brought that to me and said, please keep this. So I did. And my little one, Rue, that's what I call her. That's why the things that she says are Ruisms. She loves to write me letters. And she put a sticker on there because she thought it looked like a stamp. So she writes me letters, and I put them in my journal. This was an historic day in my life. This was the day I was sitting in my bedroom. It was March 22nd, 2017, 11:30 a.m. in my bedroom. It was a Wednesday, and I finally finished after 5 grueling years of finding only 15 minutes to 30 minutes here and there, as often as I possibly could find the time. I finally finished the first draft of my first novel, and it was an unbelievable accomplishment for me. It was something I've been trying to do ever since I was a kid, and it was something I'd been trying to do for real for 5 years, and I finally managed to do that, and God, that was a great day. Chelsea wrote me a letter. Isn't it pretty? Just some scribbles. But she's so cute, and it's sparkly. I don't think you can see the sparkles in there. I'm trying to, no, I can't see them. That's okay. It's sparkly. You can take my word for it. But she loves to write letters, and we write letters all the time now, and we mail them. She loves to write letters to my grandmother, which is wonderful. Oh, I gotta show you this. Chelsea likes to help. So if she knows I'm not looking, she'll run to my journal and just scribble in it, because she likes to leave me little presents all over my notebooks. This was a journaling prompt from Journaling Junkie. I think that was on Tumblr. I don't think those journaling challenges are on there anymore. If they are, I'll link it, but I don't think they're there anymore. Just wanted to do a mixed media collage, and I really wanted to do colorful bubbles. So this is what came out of it, this little wash bucket with nasty water and bubbles coming out. And of course Chelsea had to put in her 2 cents. She scribbled all over it, which kind of made me angry at first because I had spent so long trying to do it. But then I thought, you know what, she's precious, so it's okay. Oh, I wrote this little haiku-ish poem, and I just used some art paper and burned the edges. I really like that look, that kind of old parchment. Oh. Chelsea made me another gift, so I didn't even try to journal on this page. I just let it be what it is. think the prompt for this was travel journal page. And so I made a little passport. And I drew a world that doesn't look anything like our world. And then I just chose a few countries and put, some of their landmarks. France and Italy. And then, of course, I did some modes of transportation. And had to throw Ireland in there because I am Irish, and I feel very deeply in tune with my Celtic ancestry, my Irish ancestry. It means a whole lot to me, so of course I had to throw that in there. And I'm a huge Frasier fan, so I had to throw in the Seattle Space Needle. Never been there myself, but I'd like to see it. I think the weather would agree with me. And of course, the buffalo and the American eagle. So I just thought that was really cute. So I wanted to show it. Independence Day 2017. As you can see, I do love Independence Day. And I just was really feeling, I don't know, I guess I must have just been feeling really, 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 really good that day, because I put a whole lot of decoration all over this page. Oh, this is cute. For my birthday, my sister had gotten me a ticket, and we got to go in June, I think, and then I didn't get around to making this little envelope till July, but my sister took me for my birthday, as my birthday present, back to the Tennessee Theater to see Dirty Dancing live, and it was much better than I hoped it would be. I wasn't sure how they were going to pull off the lake scene, but they did it so well. And I felt like the fella who they got to play Johnny Castle was really great. And oh my goodness, the girl they got, I've misplaced the program. I don't have any of these people's names, but I think the understudy wound up performing as Baby that night. And my God, did she look just like Jennifer Grey. It was pretty awesome. And this, I like to make these little envelopes. Aren't they cute? This was a journal prompt. Write a positive letter to yourself. So I wrote myself a letter. And I love this parchment looking paper. Isn't it pretty? So I wrote myself a little letter. Try your hand at hand lettering. It was another prompt. It was a disaster. I don't think any of it looks good. It was a pain in the butt to try to do, and quite frankly, it looks horrible. I'm not going to open that one, but, that's a pretty envelope. In there is my ticket stub from when I took one of my girls to see War for the Planet of the Apes. I am a huge Planet of the Apes fan. I'm such a Planet of the Apes fan. I love the old series. I love the new series. I even loved the quote-unquote bad one, which was the Tim Burton version, which, again, I think was the first Planet of the Apes movie I ever actually saw, and I loved it. And I love all of the Planet of the Apes movies for what they are, and I don't try to compare them to each other. I just try to enjoy them. Huge, huge fan. This was the night I had finished editing my book, and then I registered my copyright, and it was 1:03 in the morning, and I was just so happy. And I think the very first thing I did was text a friend of mine, because I felt like she was the first person I wanted to share that with, so I texted her right away. That, just a little poem about watching fireworks. This, sometimes, as I said, my girls like to make me little presents and draw me pictures, and they feel really happy when I put those things in my journal, so I put them in my journal to make the kids happy, We're getting close to the end here. This was a freebie. What did you make today? So I made this specifically to put in this journal. I will never make anything this thick again to put in my journal, but it's a tiny little handmade journal. my first attempt at doing that, and then I journaled in it, and I put pictures in it, and I collaged in it, and I wrote in it, and that's pretty much it. Here is my very last entry in this journal. I ended on kind of a bittersweet note. My book had been rejected by a couple of publishers already. Don't worry, that does have a happy ending. And then in the very back, I've got my goals. This was one of those things that was a suggestion from Clark Kegley that I did decide to keep. Just things that are important to me that I want to do. Some of them I accomplished by the time I finished this journal. Some of them I didn't. But that page is there. And that is the end of this flip through. If you liked my video, I hope you'll throw me a like and a subscribe. I welcome comments down below. I hope that you'll be kind, but of course, constructive criticism is always appreciated and helpful. So, don't be mean, but if you have suggestions, I'll be happy to take them. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.